Let's look at an example for calculating depreciation when we are using the straight line method. So the information we've got here says that Sangsang Limited bought a new vehicle on 30 June 2013 for 305,000 Rand. The year end important is on 31 December. So we didn't buy this vehicle at the beginning of the year, but somewhere during the year. The vehicle needs to be depreciated at 33.33% on the cost price. You may assume that the vehicle has a residual value of 28,000 Rand. Remember, a residual value is how much the asset can be sold for at the end of its useful life. So let's draw our timeline to get this picture. So if we go to the timeline and we put this in there, we will see, right, there we go, that is our first financial year. Is going to run from, remember our information said that our financial year end is on the 31st of December each year. So our first year is going to run from the 1st of January to the 31st of December 2013. Thereafter, we'll have the second year, which is going to end on 31st of December 2014. Thereafter, another year, 31 December 2015. And then our last financial year, 31 December 2016. Now you may be thinking, why on earth have I got 4 years here when the question said that the assets should be depreciated at 33.33% on the cost price. Remember, it's this on the cost price that tells us that we need to use the straight line method. So 33.33% per year is going to give me how many years? So how many years can I depreciate at 33% before I will get to 100% of the asset's value? So let's see. Year 1, if I depreciate 33% or 33.33%, my total depreciation will be 33.33%. Year 2, if I depreciate another 33.33%, I'm going to have a total of 66.67%. Year 3, if I have another 33.33%, then I'm going to finally get to my 100% and the asset will have been fully depreciated. So you can see that it's going to take 3 years. So a depreciation rate of 33.33% is equal to a useful life of 3 years. The shortcut we could have said is 1 divided by 33%, which is going to be 0.333 recurring, and that is going to give you 3 years as well. Okay, so that's just how the rate can be translated into a useful life of years. But let's go back to our timeline. So what we had here was my financial years. Now the question that we want to answer, sorry, let me just rewrite that. What we had here was our financial years, and the question that we want to answer is how many months, and which months specifically, did we have this asset in use, and did we actually use this asset? And in this example, it is a vehicle. So to answer that, we need to look at the given information, which tells us that we purchased this vehicle on 30 June 2013. So we purchased the vehicle around about slap bang in the middle here on the 30th of June 2013. So we would have used this vehicle in the first financial year from June all the way up to December. and that is going to give me 6 months. So 6 months in the first financial year, running from 1st of Jan to 31st of December. Right, so how many months do I use this asset in the second financial year, which is from the 1st of Jan 2014 all the way up until 31st of December? Well, we know that this asset has got a useful life of 3 years. So the first year of the asset's useful life will again be finished in the middle of that year. Then the second year of the asset's useful life will start, and that is going to finish around about in the middle of the third financial year. And then the last year of the asset's useful life is going to finish around about the middle of the last financial year. So there you can see the blue line at the top is the 4 financial years, and the green line at the bottom here, we can see the breakdown of our 3 useful life years of this asset. And you can see that they overlap the financial year ends, and that's why there's different usage of the assets in the different years. So in the first financial year that ends here, we have this asset in use for only 6 months. In the second year, from December to from 1 Jan 2014 to 31 December 2014, we will have this asset for a full 12 months. So that's going to be 12 months. Alright, then in my third financial year, from there to there, I'm going to have this asset for another 12 months. Right, so right now we're at 6 plus 12 plus 12. So we are at 6 plus 12 is 18 plus 12 is, we're at 30 months in total. We know that the total useful life of this asset is, total useful life, we've calculated it now, at 3 years equals 3 years, which is equal to 36 months. Alright, so in my last year, this asset is going to be used only for this period from the 31st of December up until this date, which is the 30th of June 2016, and that is going to be a full 6 months if you count that January, February, March, April, May, June, which is 6 months. That gives me my total useful life in the last financial year of 6 months. So you can see that the asset's useful life of 3 years is spread over 4 financial years, with a little bit in the first financial year, the full usage in the next 2 financial year, and then a little bit again in the last financial year. So you'll see this 6 plus this 6 gives me the other full year that I'm looking for. Just coincidental that in this case it's exactly the same figure, and oftentimes that will not be the case. Right, now we can continue with calculating our depreciation. So this question asks us to complete the table below by calculating the depreciation, the accumulated depreciation at the end of each financial year, the carrying amount, as well as some other information. So we can see here on the left hand side is my dates. This is the date that I purchased the vehicle, and then this is every time the end of the financial year, and these last 2 lines we can leave blank. The first question asks us to calculate how many months is the asset in use at the end of the first financial year. So we're going to go back to our timeline. That's pretty easy. We can see that it is 6 months. So this 6 months here is the number of months that the asset is in use in the first financial year. So we can fill that in. 6 months. Next question, for how many months is the asset in use in the last financial year that it will be used? So if we go to our timeline again, you can see quite easily the last financial year runs from 31 December 2015 to 31 December 2016. So if I count the months here, January, February, March, April, May, and June. That is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Right, so this one again, 6 months as well. Then this table asks us to calculate the cost, the depreciation, accumulated depreciation, and carrying amount. Now we already know that the carrying amount is a combination of two accounts. You'll remember from the previous video that it is the positive cost account, which in this case will be called vehicles, and the negative accumulated depreciation account, which combined is going to give me the carrying amount, which is the value of the asset, otherwise known as the accounting value of the asset or the book value of the asset, the carrying amount. Right, so on day one, the cost of this asset was 305,000 Rand, so we can fill that in, 305,000 Rand. On day one, we have not used this asset at all. Remember, depreciation is accounting for the use of the asset. So on the very first day, on the 30th of June, none of this asset has been used. However, on the 31st of December, this asset would have been used a little bit. So on the first day, no usage, so we can leave that blank. At the end of the first day, also the accumulated usage is also going to be 0. And my carrying amount is simply going to be equal to the cost price. Then 6 months pass, and I'm now at 31st of December. I'm now here, so I've used this asset for these 6 months right here. So I need to calculate depreciation. That is a transaction that has taken place. The transaction that is happening here is the usage of this asset. So I need to record that. Firstly, we can fill in my cost. It's going to remain the same at 305,000 Rand. My depreciation will be calculated at 33% on the cost price, which is a straight line method. So the formula for that is my cost price minus the residual value, and then I can multiply this by the rate that we've been given, and then finally I can multiply this all by the months that the asset was in use over the total months in 1 year. So the cost of this asset is 305,000 Rand. The residual value was given at 28,000 Rand. There we go, 28,000 Rand. This gives me an amount that I can depreciate at 33%. Alright, so 33%. To get it to a percentage, I can simply divide by 100 and multiply by the number of months that this asset was in use, which we've already determined is 6 months over 12, and that is going to give me my answer. If I use a calculator quickly, let's quickly grab a calculator here, and we say 305,000 Rand, the cost minus the residual value, 28,000 Rand. That gives me 277. This figure I'm going to multiply by 33%. I'm just going to put a lot of threes because it's a recurring figure. And I'm going to get an answer which is 92,333. And this answer I'm going to multiply by 6 divided by 12. And that's going to give me 46166.67. So the answer here is 46166.67. Just a useful tip. Always see if you can round off only your final answer. Okay, so keep your intermediate calculations. Don't round off your intermediate calculations as you see I've done here. Don't round them off, just round off your final answer to 2 decimal places as the question stipulated here. Round off the final answer to 2 decimal places. Right, so my depreciation in the first year is 46166.67. Then the accumulated usage is simply going to be the sum of all of the depreciation in the current year as well as the previous years. So there was no depreciation on the first day, so So the accumulated depreciation here is going to be exactly the same, 46166.67, and my carrying amount is going to be the 305 minus the accumulated depreciation, which is 305 minus 46166.67, which is equal to 258,833.33. And there we go. That is my first financial year complete. Right, so let's move on to the second financial year. Now we've got our cost. Again, you will see that the cost price remains the same throughout of this asset's life. So 305,000 Rand again. My depreciation in the second year, I'm going to use the same formula. So if I go back to my formula, I'm still going to have 305,000 minus 28,000 times 33% multiply by m over 12. The only difference is in my second year, this asset is in use for a full 12 months. Alright, there we go. We can see that it's in use for a full 12 months and not just 6 months. So this figure here is going to change to 12. So in my second year, this figure becomes a, let's just get that in there. Second year, this figure here becomes a 12. And my answer then changes to, if I punch that in the calculator, 305,000 minus my residual 28,000 equals, remember you have to take this total, which is 277, multiply that by 33.33% recurring, which equals 92,333, multiplied by 12 divided by 12, which is 1, but just for completeness, there we go, the answer doesn't change, 92,333.33. Right, so the answer then becomes 92,333.33. Very easy. That's in year 2. So we can take this out. This was the depreciation in year 1, and the depreciation for year 2 is that figure. Right. My accumulated depreciation is then going to be the sum of all the usage up till 31st of December 2014. So all the usage up till then is going to be, if we go back to your timeline, we can just indicate this here. This first part here, the 6 months, the usage amounted to roughly, we had roughly 46,000 Rand. This 12 months here, the usage amounted to roughly 92,000 Rand. Right, so the accumulated usage up till the end of 31 December 2014 is going to be the 46 plus the 92. So let's grab the calculator here. 92,333 plus the 46, 166.67, and that gives me a nice round 138,500. 38500. My carrying amount is the cost minus the accumulated depreciation, so that is 305 minus 138,500, and that gives me 166,500. Perfect. Then on the 31st of December 2015, the cost is once again going to be 305,000 Rand. The depreciation, since it's based on the cost price and the cost price has not changed, the depreciation is going to be exactly the same in this year. That runs from there to here. Because it's based on the cost price, the 305 doesn't change, the 28 doesn't change, the rate doesn't change, the 12 is still applicable. So the depreciation in year 3, or my third financial year rather, is going to be 92,000 Rand as well. Okay, right, so back to our table. So I can fill in 92,333.33, and my accumulated depreciation is then the 138,500 plus 92,333.33 gives me 230,833.33. My carrying amount is then the 305 minus the 230,833.33, which is equal to 74,166.67. Okay, so I hope you're beginning to notice something here about the depreciation charge. You'll see that it's the same every year. Alright, our last financial year that we need to record depreciation for, or in which we will actually use this asset and have a transaction for that usage, is ending on 31 December 2016. The cost price is still the same. My depreciation in the last year, however, how many months did I use this asset in the last year? We've seen here, sorry, that was a bit short initially. We've seen here that last year we used this asset for 6 months. So this formula here, again, it's this part only that's going to be changed from the 12. If I take out this 12, and that is going to be changed to 6 again, and this figure is then going to be changed back to the amount that we calculated for the first year, which is going to be, you can double check that with your calculator, but it's going to be exactly the same, 46,166.67. There we go, and that's my depreciation for the last year, and that is going to be specifically for this period here, so that is 46,000 Rand roughly. Okay, so there's my depreciation in the 4 financial years. So let's put this in, 46,166.67. My accumulated depreciation is now, grab the calculator here, 230,833.33 plus this 46,166. 46,166.67, and that is exactly 277,000. My carrying amount is then the 305 cost price minus the 277,000, and that is 28,000. Now, something interesting about this carrying amount that you should immediately be able to see. Where have we seen this 28,000 Rand? Go back to my information, and we see that the residual value is 28,000 Rand. That means when we get to the end of this asset's useful life, there should be a residual value, a remaining value of 28,000 Rand, because that is how much we can sell this asset for at the end of its useful life. And that is exactly what has happened here. We've used in total 277,000 Rand, which has been moved from the asset. You will see that the asset's value has decreased over the time, and it's been moved into this account, into the expense account over the financial year. So as we use the asset's value has decreased in the carrying amount column, and the expense has increased every year, or there was an expense every year, and the asset to account for the asset's usage. Good. So what do you notice about the depreciation charge each year? It's number one, it's the same, it increases, or it's the highest in the first couple of years, Well, apart from the first year and the last year, which is not exactly the same because of the number of months that the asset was in use, the depreciation is going to be the same each year, as it is based on the cost price, which remains the same throughout. That's the straight line method. Right, so what do we notice about the carrying amount at the end of the useful life? We saw that that was 28,000 Rand, and that is equal to the residual value which was given in the beginning. Good.